Bottom line is none of us will live without commitments. We, one way or another, will end up committing our time, whether it's to Facebook, whether it's to Instagram, whether it's to whatever. We commit our time, we will commit our money, we commit our energy, we commit our talents, we commit our reputation. All of those things, we will end up making some kind of a commitment. Ecclesiastes 5 tells us that whatever we choose to commit to, we need to choose those commitments prayerfully. Don't shoot off your mouth or speak before you think. Don't be too quick to tell God what you think he wants to hear. God is in charge, not you. The less you speak, the better. Overwork makes for restless sleep. Overtalk shows you up as a fool. Don't let your mouth make a total sinner out of you. Woo. When called into account, you won't get by with saying, sorry, I didn't mean it. No, why would you risk provoking God to angry retaliation? I want to point out and identify about three areas in which of 3 areas of our life that these commitments will play themselves out in. Number 1 is how we commit to financial integrity. How we commit to financial integrity. How many of you agree that it is easier to get in debt than it is to get out of debt? How many of you will agree that it's easier to borrow money than it is to pay it back? Okay, if you buy something that you cannot afford to buy, there is no such thing as an easy payment plan. Hello. That is the truth, the whole truth. I'm telling you, they are all hard. If you buy something you can't afford to buy, there's no easy payment plan. I don't care how big and bold and what pretty color they write it in. It's all hard and it's all going to be difficult. When anytime you buy something on credit that you cannot really afford to buy, what you're doing is you are making a commitment. You are making a commitment, and the Bible says, watch, be careful what you are doing. Consider the cost. Watch out for impulsiveness. The greatest cause of debt, I'm going to tell you, the greatest cause of debt, I believe, for most people is not because we suffer from low income. The greatest cause of debt is because most people suffer from impatience. But I'm telling you something, it is not always, the problem with debt is not always. Now, many people could use increase, and I understand that, and I have been there, and I've prayed for it, and I've watched God bring it to pass in my life. But a lot of times, it's not about low income. It is about you don't even know how to manage what you got, and you become impatient, and we see it. Hello, we want it, and we got to have it. And when do we got to have it? Now. Even if that means we got to spend tomorrow's money today. Hello. That's what credit is. Credit is spending tomorrow's money today. And a lot of times we could get it, but we would just need to wait on it and save for it. And then we could get it and it wouldn't be no stress. Anytime we are impulsively spending tomorrow's money today, we are mortgaging our future. The second area where we fall into the trap as it regards to us making commitments is how we commit to relationships. Okay, the same principle that I just told you is true in the way we commit to relationships. How many of you know sometimes it is much easier to get into a relationship than it is to get out of a relationship? Whether it's a marriage, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a business partnership, it is always much easier to get into it than it is to come out of it. That's why when you are going in, you need to do all of your work up front so that if we do fall out, it's already been sealed. This is how we're going to deal with it, okay? So just like people shop impulsively, they fall into relationships impulsively. Some people are so afraid of being alone that they will latch on to the first thing that looks in their direction that has a pulse. Oh, but I'm going to tell you something right now. It would be so much better to be alone and have peace than it is to be together in turmoil. That's why the Bible tells us to be careful and consider the cost. Breaking up is hard to do, and it is much easier to get in than it is to get out of. Why do you think that the divorce rate is so high in America today? It's high because people marry impulsively. They get involved with people impulsively. They marry people they never had no business marrying. They jump at the first chance because they're afraid they won't get another chance. And so they jump at the first chance. Okay, it's dangerous to make commitments before you consider the consequences. So hit somebody and tell them, break the impulse. Somebody says, but I think I love them. I think yeah, you've known them for how many weeks? 3. And I think I love them. But let me tell you something. It takes more than just I think I love somebody to make a marriage work. Hello. It takes maturity, it takes unselfishness, it takes self-sacrificing, it takes understanding, it takes devotion, it takes commitment, it takes long-suffering, it takes kindness, it takes consideration, it takes, and I'm just getting started, it takes counting up the cost. Hello. And some of you right now, you're in a relationship, but you feel cheated. You feel cheated because that when we're dating, we look our best. Hello. We walk our best when we're dating. We talk the good talk when we are dating. And because we're not always our true self when we are dating. So a lot of people have gotten married impulsively, and now they have buyer's remorse. Yes. And they're like, this is not at all what I was expecting. Where is the girl I dated? Hello. Where is the man that I was dating? I've got, this is not at all what I bargained for. And some people also fall in the trap of comparison. The comparison. They compare their family to another family. You compare your spouse to your sister's spouse, or your spouse to your brother's spouse. And it's just all that kind of craziness. They fall into the grass is greener on the other side syndrome. I know y'all ain't never done that. Let me tell you something. The grass is greener wherever you water it. Okay, that's what I'm going to tell you. If you water the grass, that's why you got to count up the cost before you make the commitment. Wherever the grass is greener, the water bill is higher. Come on, y'all. I said, wherever the grass is greener, the water bill is higher. So quit feeling sorry for yourself and quit having a pity party and go ahead and water your grass. Make the most of it. Just take what you got and say, Lord, I'm going to do my part, and I'm going to trust that they're going to do their part. And at the end of the day, we're going to both believe you for a miracle. Listen, it's always easier to get in than it is to get out. Impulsive relationships have been the cause of so much unnecessary pain. Look at somebody, tell them, break the impulse and think it through. I'm on my last point. The third trap that we fall into when we don't consider the cost is how we commit our time. How we commit our time. It's so much easier to fill your schedule than to fulfill it. I said it's so much easier to fill your schedule than it is to fulfill it. Ask me how I know, because I've had first-hand experience. It's easier to say yes to commitments than it is to keep them. It's much easier to say yes to a commitment than it is to actually keep it. And so one of the common mistakes that we make, and I bet everybody in this room does it or has done it, is we constantly add things to our schedule without eliminating things from our schedule. If you're going to add, you've got to eliminate. And as a result, what ends up happening is we end up being overcommitted. And what happens is the first thing to suffer is our families begin to suffer. And it is so much easier to get into those commitments than it is to get up out of them. And what ends up happening is now, because we are overcommitted, things that matter the most are having to take a back seat to things that matter the least. Things that matter the most should never be at the mercy of things that matter the least. And so sometimes the key to happiness is just simply saying, no, I can't do it at this time. Hello. And so we find ourselves over committing to things, and what we're good at is we're pretty good at making a to-do list. Anybody good at making a to-do list? I want to charge you to go home and make yourself a don't-do list. This is my don't do list, okay? And when I feel tempted to commit, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna read that thing. Because let me tell you something, God doesn't even expect you to do everything for everybody. So who are we trying to expect that out of ourselves? What God does expect is He expects us to focus. Whether it is a trap in our time, whether it is a trap in our relationships, whether it is a trap in our money, it causes unnecessary stress. So what is the answer, Pastor Brady? What does God say about the commitments that we make? Write this down. Here's what He says. Choose your commitments carefully. Carefully is my key word there. Choose them carefully. Jot these scriptures down. Proverbs 13:16 says, a wise man thinks ahead, a fool doesn't. And then he even brags about it. Choose your commitments carefully. Proverbs 14:15 says, only a simpleton or a gullible person believes everything he is told, but a prudent man checks to see where he is going. All of that screams, choose your commitments carefully. Proverbs 14:16 says, a wise man is cautious and he avoids danger, but a fool plunges ahead with great confidence. Lord, have mercy. Proverbs, I told you all, every answer you need is here in this book. Proverbs 21:23 says, keep your mouth closed and you will stay out of trouble. I think my mama said that. Keep your mouth closed and you will stay. That's Proverbs 21:23. So when it comes to making a decision as to whether you're going to commit your time or your money or you're going to commit in a relationship, remember that when it comes to those things, you need to open your mind and keep your mouth closed until you know that you know that you know. And if you will do that, you will have a whole lot less problems to deal with. Proverbs 22:3. A prudent man perceives the difficulties that are ahead and prepares for them. But the gullible man goes blindly on ahead and he suffers the consequences. Break the impulse and choose your commitments carefully. Jesus gave us 2 Proverbs. He said, no builder starts to build a building without first planning a budget to see if he can first afford to finish it. Another proverb, he said, no king plans to go to war without stopping and considering the resources that he has in his army. He counts the cost, he calculates the odds, and he considers the risks that are there. You have to choose your commitments carefully. Why?